Fabled Heat, where magic meets desire. Subscribe to ignite the fantasy.
The aroma of freshly baked sourdough usually calmed me. Today it was just another taunt, another reminder of the life I wasn't living, the joy I wasn't feeling. Business at the daily grind, my bakery was dwindling, rent was skyrocketing, my marriage was, well, let's just say it was the kind of quiet desperation that fueled entire industries. Then he walked in. He was tall, impossibly so, with a tailored suit that screamed bespoke and eyes that swallowed the dim morning light. His presence was potent, like ozone after a lightning strike. His skin was a shade darker than mine, almost charcoal, and his gaze, when it landed on me, felt like a physical touch. "Are you the owner?" his voice rumbled, a low baritone that vibrated through the floorboards. "I am," I said, smoothing down my flour-dusted apron. "What can I get for you?" "Misery," he said, and my stomach lurched. I stared at him, dumbfounded. "Excuse me." He smiled, a slow, deliberate curve of his lips that did absolutely nothing to reassure me. "Don't misunderstand. I'm not some masochist looking for a sad story with my morning coffee. I'm in the misery business, or rather I used to be. Now it's more like misery management." He extended a hand. "Zarthus, and I understand you're Amelia." I shook his hand, his grip firm and surprisingly warm. "Yes, Amelia. Look, I don't know what you're talking about." "Demons, Amelia, I'm a demon, a former purveyor of despair, now a reluctant benefactor." He sighed, the sound laced with world weariness. "We used to thrive on the negative energy of humanity. War, famine, heartbreak, it was our sustenance. But now humanity is softer, more medicated, and what misery remains, it's calorie-dense but low-nutrient. Think fast food instead of a good, old-fashioned plague. Most of my kind are well obese." He looked around the bakery, his eyes lingering on the drooping sunflowers I'd bought last week. "I'm here to help. I've been observing your establishment. The daily grind is underperforming." "You noticed," I said, the sarcasm bitter on my tongue. "I sense the despair, Amelia. It's pungent. It's also, frankly, inefficient. I propose a business proposition. I'll help you turn the daily grind around. In exchange, I'll take a small percentage of the misery." I blinked. "You what?" "Think of it as a cosmic composting system. I take the negative energy, transmute it, and leave you with positivity. Increased business, a happier environment, perhaps even personal fulfillment." I scoffed. "Personal fulfillment from a demon." He shrugged, his broad shoulders flexing under the impeccable tailoring. "Desperate times, Amelia, desperate times. Besides," he added, a glint in his dark eyes, "I haven't felt this, drawn to a human in centuries." And that, I realized, was the moment I was truly lost. Not because I believed him, not because I thought he could actually help, but because there was something in his gaze, something ancient and powerful, that resonated with the hollow ache in my soul. I was drawn to him, an inexplicable pull that felt both terrifying and exhilarating. Trope, enemies to lovers, though we're barely on the enemy's part yet. I agreed. What else could I do? My back was against the wall. Zarthus, to my surprise, was remarkably helpful. He didn't just offer empty platitudes. He analyzed my business, pointed out flaws I hadn't even noticed, and suggested practical solutions. He even had a knack for baking, his monstrously strong hands somehow coaxing the perfect rise out of the dough. He was intense. He watched me constantly, his gaze heavy and possessive. He asked intrusive questions about my marriage, about my dreams, about my fears. I found myself confiding in him, sharing secrets I'd never told another soul. It was unsettling, this intimacy with a creature I barely understood, but it was also liberating. The daily grind began to thrive. People flocked to the bakery, drawn by the delicious smells, the vibrant atmosphere, and yes, the subtle undercurrent of happiness. Even my customers seemed brighter, their conversations lighter, their smiles more genuine. My marriage, however, continued to crumble. My husband, Mark, was oblivious to the change in the bakery and to the growing tension that crackled between Zarthus and me. He was a man of habit, of routine, content in his comfortable misery. One evening, after a particularly long day, I found myself alone with Zarthus in the bakery. The scent of cinnamon and sugar hung heavy in the air. "Thank you," I said, my voice barely a whisper, "for everything." He turned to me, his eyes burning in the dim light. "I do it for myself as well, Amelia. Your misery, it's exquisite, not in the way I expected. It's complex, layered with potential, with hope. It's a shame to let it go to waste." He stepped closer, his presence filling the space, stealing the air from my lungs. You're not like the others, Amelia. You have a strength, a resilience, and a darkness that calls to me. He reached out, his fingers tracing the line of my jaw. I shivered, his touch sending a jolt of electricity through my body. Zarthus, I breathed, my voice trembling. Amelia, he murmured, his voice rough with a desire I could no longer ignore. He leaned in, his lips brushing against mine. It was a tentative touch, a question asked and answered in the space between our breaths. And then the question became a demand. His lips parted mine, his tongue tasting, exploring. The kiss was like a storm, a tempest of need and longing. It was everything my marriage wasn't, passionate, demanding, alive. I kissed him back, surrendering to the desire that had been simmering beneath the surface for weeks. We broke apart, gasping for air, our eyes locked. What was that? I stammered. He smiled, a slow, predatory curve of his lips. That, Amelia, was a taste of what could be, of what asterisk will asterisk be. He reached out, his hand brushing my cheek. I want you, Amelia, not just your misery, all of you. My breath hitched, my heart pounded in my chest. I knew I should pull away, that this was wrong, that he was a demon and I was married, but I couldn't. The pull was too strong, the desire too overwhelming. I don't know what to say, I whispered. Say yes, he said, his voice soft but insistent. Say you want me to. Before I could answer, the bell above the door jingled. Mark stood there, his face pale, his eyes wide with shock. Amelia, he said, his voice barely audible. What is going on? Zarthus turned to face him, his expression unreadable. Ah, Mark, he said, his voice dripping with false politeness. Just the man I wanted to see. I was just telling Amelia about their exciting new business opportunities we've been discussing. Mark stared at him, then back at me, his eyes pleading. Amelia, please, he said, his voice cracking. Tell me this isn't what it looks like. I looked at Mark, at the man I had promised to spend my life with, the man who had become a stranger to me. And then I looked at Zarthus, at the demon who had awakened something inside me I thought long dead. I opened my mouth to speak, to tell Mark it wasn't what it looked like, to salvage what was left of our marriage. But the words wouldn't come. The only sound was the rhythmic ticking of the clock on the wall, each tick a deafening drumbeat in the silent room. Zarthus stepped forward, placing a possessive arm around my waist. He looked at Mark, his eyes cold and calculating. I think, Zarthus said, his voice smooth as silk, that Amelia has something to tell you. He squeezed my waist, his grip tightening. Go on, Amelia, Zarthus whispered in my ear, his breath hot against my skin. Tell him. I stared at Mark, my heart aching with guilt and a strange, unsettling excitement. I knew what I had to do. I knew the choice I had to make. But could I? Could I really break free from the life I had known and embrace the darkness that called to me? My silence stretched on, a heavy weight in the air. Then Zarthus, his patience clearly at an end, tightened his grip on me, a subtle but unmistakable threat. Tell him, Amelia, he hissed in my ear, or I will. And I knew, with a certainty that chilled me to the bone, that if Zarthus told him, the truth would be far more devastating than anything I could say. My voice, when it finally came, was barely a whisper. Mark, I said, my eyes filled with tears. I think we need to talk. Zarthus smirked. The game, it seemed, had just begun.